Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again here at Seafried and Brew for our economic briefing. I am Jamie Sumner, the chief analyst, and for this week's briefing, we just want to review over some of the releases that came out last week. And first, we want to look at the second release of the GDP for the third quarter. Overall, on top line, not much of a change, still growing at that 3.5%. as we saw in that advanced release. However, we did see some move around in the underlying components. Consumer segment in the advanced release contributed 269 basis points to the overall growth rate, whereas in the second release we're down to 245. Still strong, but it did pull off a little bit. We saw the investments, however, increase from 2.03 to 2.52 percentage points. So we saw this little bit of an increase there, that due to an increase in the overall growth in the inventories, as well as a switch in the fixed investments. In terms of that, in the advanced release was a negative change quarter over quarter, and in the second release it was a positive change. So we saw growth in that, a small growth, but growth nonetheless. Overall, exports and imports, we can see that came in a little bit down, contracting now 1.91 percentage points. And then government spending stayed relatively the same, just down a little more than 10 basis points there. So overall, still growing the same amount, just a little bit of changes inside the different components, but it was positive that the investments continue to increase. We'll get the third release out on the 21st of December. Next, we look at the advanced inventories. Speaking about these inventory numbers, how they have increased in the third quarter, we see that continue now in October. This is the October numbers. We can see the wholesale inventories up 0.7% month over month. The survey was 0.4%, so we're ahead of the survey. We saw similar on the retail inventories, where we saw an increase of 0.9% month over month, and here you can see the survey was 0.5%. So we continue to see the strength in that inventory replenishment. The question is, will we continue to see that in the November and December releases, and hopefully follow that for the entire fourth quarter, giving us another bump in that GDP. Looking at construction spending, however, we can see from October, we saw a growth rate month over month of actually a reduction of 0.1%. That was below what the anticipation was, came in at 0.4%. So we saw a pull off in the construction spending. And if we can look here, residential down 0.5% month over month for October. Year over year, still positive at 1.7% though. And we've seen this in the different releases showing that the construction numbers, new homes being built, kind of pulling off a little bit. We look at the overall yield curve. We can see the 10-year Treasury at the end of last week, in the end of November, at 3.01. So just about at that 3% level. In fact, today we did dip down at a 2.99, and over the weekend we also came down below that 3% level. So this kind of will be a trend, I believe, and we've said this before, with this 10-year Treasury trading more in line below 3%, moving into the near future. And overall, the short end of the curve continues to tick up a little bit, reducing the overall slope of the yield curve. And that's what we have for you this week. Next week, we'll come back and look at the employment report coming out later on Friday, and then we'll see about some deposit rates and how they have changed over the past several months. Look forward and talk to you next week. Have a great week, everyone.